God's help.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, and then I'll be back at the end of July, which is, I'm not sure, their plane's supposed to come in, I think, on the 26th of July, but I don't know what kind of condition I'll be in. I think that's a Tuesday. I'll be in touch. Now, here's another thought. Right now I'm learning in another place, Vayaavor. It runs, in the Tiv, it runs extremely deep. So you're getting a real pneumistic look there. Now, he's got the same thing going to go on here. Because I could see that this has we don't have enough time to really develop it on 2 of the days of the week right now. So he was thinking either that, because especially this is a longer piece, and it's hard to get a feel for it, that maybe I want to do it on the side and send it to you in less than 10 minutes. What about that? That's on those 2 days. If I can. I don't know if I can, but, if I can.
Monday and Tuesday.
It's really Monday and Thursday. We really can't. I don't have enough time to be able to go through this and do the Sifra Ditzniuta. That's the problem.
All right.
So let's see how. Well, here at any rate, I could do this later, and we could just finish it out and send it over to you. Okay, and we'll go to Sifra Ditzniuta instead, because I think you can handle 10 minutes while you're walking around someplace.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go over to where we were. And let me see if I can figure it out. Okay, we stopped really kind of in the middle. On page Kuf Ches. I think it's a Ches. Kuf Ches. Now let me get my glasses pointed right here. Now we just stopped on this number Yud Ches. We read Yud Ches. So he says, Mavur Od. So we want to talk about this maskala. The whole idea of the maskala, koyin begufe. Now he says it exists in the body. So it's some kind of a panemius inside of a body. So he says that this is what happens. So he had mentioned that, and he talked about Birurim, I believe. He says that it brings in a balance. The dead kings bring in the balance of the Gebur type. That's what I thought he said. It makes a maskala. Where does it go? It goes in a Mukhstimah. Oma besocha guf shal erikanpin. So he says the concept, why does he say maskala coin bagufe? So it's inside of the body of Zer Anpin. It's in the physical body, and that's what he means, I think, of the Golgotha, the Eric Anpin. So he means to say that it's covered over in some way, it's buried deep inside of some physicality. There is no element outside that is below it that stretches up and able to touch in some way the Mochas Dimah. So even Abba Ve'ima, whose root is from the Mochas Dimah, just like the beard of Eric Anpin from the Mochas Dimah, he said him calls it, but he didn't say that. Okay, there are parts of. But they don't hold on to Mochas Dimah itself. Ella but rather they're attached to an aspect that grows out of it, which is the beard of Eric Anpin. V'Omer Odni says further, Mabalo is Chaze. It is not shown, it does not seen by the lower world. The fish who saw some krum kosher, because there, remember back to the Idris now, thinking about this, there's a very strong krum around it. Never opens. So like you ask the question, well, if that's true, then how does anything get out of it? How does all the shefa come? The answer is we don't know. I think that's what we say. The Zer Anpin, like there the moch of Zer Anpin has a crust, shehu krum dak, but it's a very thin krum. Sheniftach v'nisgalabo shloshim v'shtayim shavilim. There you see actually there's 32 paths out of that krum. Now we come over to another little blurb. He says, Achashabir inyan tikun maskala. So now we know that the maskala developed from as my understanding, from Birurim that came into Eric Anpin, into his Chochmah, which is his Mukhstimah. Tikun maskala shena'asach b'Mukhstimah. So we talked about that. Shenishreshu bo sharshei hadinim, that in there is where the roots of the dinim managed to take root. Shel ha-malacha shemesa, the machna mesa. So that's what I was trying to say. Yivoyer od, so explain further. Shekol hanivroim yesh lechem shorish b'maskala. So all created things, they have a root in this maskala. Everything that's created, she has a root in the maskala, which is he's saying another word for maskala is malchus timah. El hein elu ashadayim lo nivru. We're also talking about things that are in potential, that never were created, that did not come into physicality. Hein elu shadnivru. Then there's also elements there that were created in this batlu and were nullified. Mahametzios and no longer exist in Metzios and have no physical reality anymore. And then there's things that are created and that need sustenance and they remain standing, let's say, so to speak. They're alive. So all of this is some of a lot of questions about this. Beis saliku. So he says sliko, I think it means goes up or goes in. Into it they go in. Olim called the Nivroim. All of Nivroim go up into it. Go up to it, or what? And as a result of, he says, what are the words he has? He says, Olim called Nivroim. Everything that's created goes up to it. Now he didn't say comes down from it. He said they go up to it, because that means to me that it's like they were already created. So here I assume that he's talking about the Malachim. So it's everything that was created, that is created, goes up to the Maskala, and there it has a shorish. I'm not sure exactly the translation. Maybe he means that, I don't know what he means. L'bei salkim, l'vo olim, and into the Mochas Timah, olim abaroim b'kol eis. They are constantly going back there. Now we're Nivroim, right? He says we're constantly, I'm talking about, so I just said that. So we're constantly going back to the Mochas Timah, Kedei the Kabul Shefa v'chiyusem, and that's where you have to go to get your chiyus b'mekor ha'elyon, from their really upper root, from the place where it spouts from. Kamosha ne'emer, like it says, v'ata mechaya es kulam, you will bring life to all of them. V'kulam nishrashem lamala b'mochas timah, and all of them are rooted up above in the mochas timah. The lohavu. Hein elu shahadayim lo nischavu b'betzius. So what are we talking about here? These are creations that have not appeared in reality. I'm not sure what that meant. But he says they still have not appeared. Even things that have not appeared still have a ruach, a root in the mochas timah, and that is for the time, that it will have to appear, to become into reality, into reality. So that sounds like potential. So I don't really know what he meant by that, but go on. And they exist. Havu means they existed. Shehoyu. That's the Pleistocene era, 350 billion years ago. Ella sha'achar kach nizbatel b'metzias, but then they're no longer in metzias. Shemekol makom lo nipsak hashorish shehoyu lechem b'mochas timah, because it never stopped. Even though they're not in a physical reality, but the words are lo nipsak hashorish, the root has never stopped. Shehoyu lechem, that they originally have in the mochas timah. So in other words, it's like the aleph of the 22 letters. The aleph is always there. And so since everything comes out of the aleph, let's say I just make it a metaphor, let's say everything comes out of the aleph, so if it's still there, then the essence of whatever was created is still there, I guess. Vayaavor, and then things are going to be. V'hein elu shegavar nivro, that I guess I'm translating these words wrong. He says that v'hein elu shegavar nivro, and these are things that were created and are still here. And the remain in Mitzius, even into the future, they're going to stay here. They're all of the things that we're talking about, all the roots of all of whatever is reality, whether we're talking about things in the past, or things that are going to be, everything is there. Ba'avar, uvahava, uva'asi. In the past, in the present, and in what's going to be. Okay, it's a little bit hard to hear this exactly because he wants to say that there's no time here. Time is not time. I made a speech about this. I don't know if I'm right about it, but time is beyond the level of the reality that we're in. It is our reality, rather. And this is beyond that. So I don't know what it means then. Let's look at number 21. 21 says, Rei b'shar ma'amari Rashbi, Khan. So he said, Bei b'sadiku b'bei sulki. So they go in there, they come out. Below havo v'havo yahavyan. V'yahavyan. The low havo, things that weren't. V'havo, things that are. V'havyan, things that will be. Yirtza wants to say like this. Ki kol ha'devarim soliku b'chai maskal. Now this is, he pointing specifically back to the maskal again. This maskala, which is the mochas timor. Again, his words are, everything goes back to the maskala. Shuhu mochas timor kanal. V'na'asa dechem shorasham. And it makes for those things a root. Now it sounds, see, the language that they're using makes it sound like these already existed, but they didn't have a root. So therefore they come over here, they get to the mochas timor, and now they have a root. I don't really understand it exactly. If they existed, then they must have had a root, a beginning. A root is a beginning. Okay, anyway, but that's the language that he's using. I like my language better, but because it makes sense to me. But let's see what we can understand. Ubei salkim. So into that they all go up. Kol eis the kabel continuously. He wants to say continuously. Go the kabel shefa bakiyus mikoram gedechsev. Now he's talking about what was, what is, and what will be. So he says all of them are continuously going back. Where were they? They're going back to the mochas timor. Now if you're talking about the malachim, I can hear that because, let's say, I still don't understand it, but let's say that they existed. The lo havo shachadayim lo babo el mitzios that still have not come into reality. Shorsham sham la'es sham la'es mitzvah. So when they're found, that's where that's where, I guess when they come into reality, is that what he mean? What's the phrase shorsham sham la'es mitzvah? La'es mitzvah is when you find them? Or do you mean,
Needed.
huh? Needed?
When it's of need.
Yeah, okay, so let's say it means needed, right? So, shorsham sham la'es, in other words, like when they get into the game, they're going to get into the reality game. Oh, wow. But he still has this word they go in. The lo havet shadaim lo bo el mitzios, shorsham heim la'es mitzvos, so when they're needed. V'gam osam shugavor choyu, then you have the ones that already existed. V'lo choyu od, v'lo yihya od, they're not alive anymore. They're not in what we call reality anymore. Lum nipsak sharsham misham. Their shorsh is not cut off from there. V'gam osam shohoyu v'yiyu. So those that were and those that will be. Yesh lechem shorasham. They all have a root there. L'sha'ava v'lo asid. What are you talking about in the past and the future? Everything is there. I understand we want to say that. I'm just concerned about the idea of Saliko. They go there, but they don't exist. So how do they go there? That is some of them. Kisham shorish kol and devarim, because everything that is ever created is recreated from there. V'zechu delo havu v'havu v'yivyu. That's that. Those are phrases. Things that weren't, that are, and that will be. Adkan. So that right there is a mind bender, and he's telling you that that's actually though what's going on in the mochas timor. Hashlomas asugrim alpia azorikia. So he has something over here. Rei bir beorim. Also got something over there. Skip down. Vina Mavur explain like this. Kimasha amba beisaliko. When it says that it goes up into there, so that's a word that I'm having a problem with. Musav al shorish hanivroim b'mochas timor. It really refers to the root of things that are created in the mochas timor. He says, that at the time, and the tikkun we understand is the resurrection, I don't get a better word, the return of the nitzutzos back into Atzilus, or created the creation of Atzilus as a result of bringing back the Tzitzit. So he says, that's a Tashas Atikun. Ubei Salkim. So at the time of the Tikkun, everything is going back. Musav al Shefa Vahiyus Shal Kiyam Ranivroim Gam La'achra Tikkun. So it says that this Ubei Salkim, what does that refer to? That refers to the Shefa, the life force that sustains everything, of all the creations, Gam La'achra Tikkun, even after the Tikkun. So when he said Beis Salikun, so that he wants to say that the sequence is that they're created, but they need to continuously be created. So therefore, there's that root, they're existing, and therefore that root, you have to keep going back to it. That's what Saliku means. He said, Umasha Amr Behemsha, then it says, the Lo Chavu Vahavu Vahavyan, Chozer al Inyan Be Saliku, goes back to what they're talking about, into it they all return. Shal Shorish, that is the Sliko, Shal Shorish, we're talking about the root, of the Nivroim Shal Shas HaTikun. At the time of the Tikkun, everything has to go back to its root. All the created things have to be below Al Inyan Be Salkim Shal Shefach Kiyun. So it's not talking about the Salkim that talks about the Shefa that keeps them alive. So it's not talking about Be Salkim, the Shefa, that the Shefa is going back. It's talking about the Nivroim, the Nimsa Ki'ilu Omer Be Salikin de Lo Hava V'Hava V'Havya. Into it. It's a little hard there. We're out of time. Maybe we'll look at it again one more time, try to get that last part. Call to.